Well, Mr. Jefferson, let me ask you something. If you took office as president, and let's say the Federalists won Congress, and you were the president, and you nominated a Supreme Court justice, and Congress didn't vote to consider it, didn't even consider the nomination, how would you feel about that?
Well, this is a stark contrast from when I was elected president, and both the Congress and the executive were changed in their party to the Democratic Republicans. But if the people were to vote one party as president and another party dominating the Congress, it sounds to me like the people wouldn't have made up their mind very well, had they?
Well, besides which, it is specific that the Senate should give their advice and consent regarding such appointments.
Well, if they do not like the candidate, they do not have to consent, but they certainly have to give their advice.
Yes, I can't imagine that anyone in any party or group would have such a stark thought of not even attempting to give their advice.
Nonetheless, I like to think that it would be possible for me to work with any party individuals, any true statesmen, no matter what their label was. Why, when the Constitution was created, parties weren't even intended. So I like to think that the people would be wise enough to vote for representatives who would hold the good of the nation above the good of their party, and they would compromise with
Well,
them.
maybe you say that now, but you certainly don't seem to have liked John Marshall, did you?
John Marshall was not compromising. Why, he wasn't even abiding by the Constitution in that Marbury v. Madison case of
Here
his.
we are again.
A great case, a great decision allowing the Supreme Court the authority of judicial review. Great
It gave them
decision.
the authority to be the Supreme Court, to be the federal judiciary that they have every right to be, to give us three balanced parties of three different branches of government, as it was intended to have balance, sir.
The duty of the Supreme Court is to judge as to infractions of the law, not as to what is and what is not the law. That power, of which you are calling this term of yours judicial review, you call it?
Judicial review is what John
That belongs
Marshall
to the
called
state
it.
superior courts, not to the federal. It was never given to the federal in the Constitution.
You would give everything to the states and nothing to the federal government,
You
sir.
know, you're starting to sound a lot like Alexander Hamilton right
do
now.
not
This
offend
Federalist
me,
78,
sir, no.
talking about judicial review as you're calling it.
I like to think that he sounded more like me.
I would never admit that if I were you.
Well, I guess we're not going to reach an agreement on how we feel about the Chief Justice.